A very good evening to all the students of class 11. Today I'm going to take on the lesson, The Portrait of a Lady, written by Khushwant Singh, and I'm going to do a few MCQs with you. All right. The first question, The Portrait of a Lady is dash by Khushwant Singh. Okay. Options: A, biography; B, autobiography; C, journal; D, a magazine. So the right answer is an autobiography. Question 2, who is the protagonist of this lesson, or who's the main character of this lesson? The options are the writer, B, the grandmother; C, the members of the family; D, none of the above. So the protagonist or the main character of this lesson is the grandmother. Question 3, where was the portrait of the grandfather displayed? A, on the mantelpiece; B, above the mantelpiece; C, in the bedroom; D, above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. So the correct option is D, above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. Okay, option B was there, above the mantelpiece, but in D we have above the mantelpiece in the drawing room, which is the most correct option. Next question, describe the physical appearance of the grandfather. A, old; he had a long white beard, wore a big turban. B, old, frail, wrinkly. C, old, well-built. D, young, handsome, well-built. So the option which is the closest is old with a long white beard and he wore a big turban. Question 5, what is a pen picture? A picture drawn with a pen, a picture colored with a pen. C, a picture created and brought alive with language or using descriptive words. D, none of the above. So a pen picture is option C, a picture created and brought alive with language. Next question, what made the grandmother extremely beautiful? A, her flawless complexion; B, her beaming smile; C, her peaceful, serene, and content countenance; D, all of the above. So if we look at the options, flawless complexion, her beaming smile, these are all the outward physical features. But option C says her peaceful, serene, and content countenance. That is real beauty, okay? So that's not physical beauty, but that's the beauty that lies within. Now here I would just like to give you the meaning of countenance. As I said, peaceful, serene, and content countenance. Now countenance means face or facial expression. So it was very peaceful, serene, and content. Next question, how did the grandmother look? Old, fat, tall. B, tall, fat, slightly bent. C, old, short, slightly bent. Fat. D, fat, short, slightly bent with a wrinkled face. So option D is the most correct because it's describing all her physical aspects. She was fat, she was short, she was slightly bent, and she had a wrinkled face. Next question, what did the author eat for breakfast? Thick chapatis with butter, thick chapatis with cream, thick chapatis with butter and sugar spread. D, thick chapatis with curd. So the correct answer is thick chapatis with butter and sugar. Next question, question number 9. What did the grandmother do in the temple? She meditated. A, B, read scriptures. C, sang religious songs. D, taught other kids religious prayers. So the correct option is she read scriptures in the temple. Next question, What was the turning point in the friendship between the grandmother and the author? Turning point. Option A, when he became an adult. Option B, when his parents called them both to the city. Option C, when he left her to live in the city. D, none of the above. So the correct option is when his parents called them both to the city. From the village when they went to the city. Next question. Why was the grandmother distressed about the author's new school in the city? Option A, she did not know English. Option B, she could not help him with his studies. Option C, there was no teaching about God and the scriptures. D, none of the above. So the closest and the correct option is she was distressed because there was no teaching about God and the scriptures. Next question, question 11. What was the grandmother's reaction on knowing about the author's music lessons? A, she was happy. B, she got angry. C, she was disturbed. D, none of the above. So the correct answer is she was disturbed. Excuse me. Next question, number 13. What was the grandmother's opinion about music? A, music had lewd associations. B, it was the monopoly of beggars. C, it was the monopoly of harlots. D, all of the above. So all of them fit into it. It had lewd associations. It was the monopoly of beggars and harlots. So all of the above. Next question, 14. When did the common link of friendship snap between the grandmother and the author? A, when he went to the English medium school. B, when he went to the university. C, when he was given a room of his own. D, none of the above. So the actual friendship snapped when he was given a room of his own. Question 15. What did the grandmother do from sunrise to sunset? A, sat by her wheel spinning. B, sat by her wheel and recited prayers. C, used to tell the beads of her rosary. D, read the scriptures. So the correct answer is she sat by the spinning wheel reciting her prayers, inaudible prayers. Okay, next question, 16. How did the grandmother express her happiness when the author came back after his 5-year-long stay abroad? A, she sang and danced. B, she distributed sweets. C, she fed the sparrows longer than usual with frivolous rebukes. D, none of the above. So the correct option is she fed the sparrows longer than usual with frivolous rebukes. Question 17. How did the author react to his grandmother's stories and her games that she played in her childhood? He laughed. A, he laughed. B, he made fun of it. C, he treated them like the fables of prophets. D, none of the above. So the correct option is C, he treated them like the fables of prophets and the stories that used to narrate to him. Next question. What major change came over the grandmother the evening her grandson returned home? Major change. A, she did not spin. B, she did not sleep. C, she did not eat. D, she did not pray. So the major change was that she did not pray. She forgot to pray that day. Next question. The doctor told us that the grandmother's fever would go. But the grandmother thought differently. She knew her end was near. This shows that the grandmother was A. Intelligent, B. Intuitive, C. Clever, D. Understanding. So the correct option is option B. Intuitive. She had the intuition, even though the doctor had said that the fever would go and she would be all right, but the grandmother had a strong intuition that her end was near and she would not be able to survive. So the option is intuitive. Next question. How is the setting of the sun symbolic of the grandmother's death? A. The sun of her life had set. B. The sun in the city had set. The sun would not arise. D. None of the above. So the correct option is the sun of her life had set. So as the setting sun, the glow that was there in her room, and at the same time she had passed away, she had died. So the sun of her life had also set. Next question. The silent sparrow seemed to be A. Sad, B. Nostalgic, C. Mourning, D. None of the above. So the silent sparrow seemed to be or appeared to be mourning because the grandmother had passed away. Next question. How did the sparrow seem to pay a tribute to the grandmother? A. By not chirruping. B. By not touching the breadcrumbs. C. By flying away quietly when the grandmother's corpse was taken away. D. All of the above. So all these points are valid to show the sparrow's tribute to the grandmother's passing away, because they did not make a noise, they did not touch the breadcrumbs, and when the dead body was carried away, they also flew away silently. So the option is all of the above. Next question. What change came in the grandmother's evening schedule the day the author returned? A. She collected the women of the neighborhood. B. She thumped the dilapidated drum. C. She sang of the homecoming warriors. D. All of the above. So the answer is all of the above, because this is all that she did, okay? Because otherwise she was always praying, spinning, praying and all that. But this time there was a change, and she collected the women of the neighborhood, she thumped the dilapidated drum, and she sang the homecoming warriors and all of the above to show her happiness. She was overwhelmed, okay? She was really very happy to see her grandson back. Next question. What did the grandmother do in her final hours? A. Spent time with her family. B. Worried about everyone. C. Went to the temple. D. Prayed silently, telling the beads of her rosary. So the answer is option D. She prayed silently, telling the beads of her rosary when her end was near. In her last moments, she was all alone, all by herself, praying silently, telling the beads of her rosary. Okay. Next question. How did the grandmother pass away? A. In the hospital. B. While sleeping. C. Lying in bed, peacefully telling the beads of her rosary. C. D. None of the above. So the grandmother passed away lying in bed peacefully telling the beads of her rosary. Next question. What did the author think when his grandmother kissed him on the forehead at the station? A. Grandmother would miss him. B. He would miss her too. C. Maybe this was the last physical contact between them. D. None of the above. So the correct option is he thought maybe this was the last physical contact between them, because he thought 5 years is a long time and maybe by the time he returned, his grandmother would be no more. because as it is, she was so old. Next question. How do we know that the grandmother was a person of strong character? A. She had complete control over her emotions. B. She was kind-hearted. C. She was not sentimental. D. All of the above. So the answer would be all of the above, because she had complete control over her emotions. She was kind-hearted. She was religious. She was not sentimental. She never showed her emotions. Okay. So all of the above. Next question. What does "she accepted her seclusion with resignation" mean? A. She was happy being alone. B. She was tired of company. C. She accepted her solitude. And D. None of the above. So C is the correct option. She accepted her solitude. She sat there, she was all alone, she had no company. So she accepted her solitude and was happy, in her own everyday routine. Next question. Why did the grandmother keep one hand on her waist? A. She was old. B. She was slightly bent. C. She had to balance her stoop. D. All of the above. So she kept her hand on her waist. The answer will be option C. She had to balance her stoop. Next question. How long had the narrator known his grandmother to be old and wrinkled? A. 30 years. B. 40 years. C. 20 years. D. None of the above. So the correct option is 20 years. Next question. The grandmother was a religious lady is evident as she, option A, prayed regularly. B. Read the scriptures. C. Told the beads of a rosary. D. All of the above. So her religious aspect is known from all these. She prayed regularly, she read the scriptures, she told the beads of a rosary. So all of the above. Next question. What was the happiest time in the day for the grandmother? A. Sitting in the veranda. B. Breaking the bread into crumbs. C. Feeding the sparrows. D. All of the above. So all these three feature into that moment which was her happiest time, when she was sitting in the veranda, breaking the bread into crumbs and feeding the sparrows. So all of the above. Next question. How does the author bring out the grandmother's divine beauty? A. She was dressed in spotless white clothes. B. Her silvery locks around her face. C. She looked like winter landscape in the mountains. So the D. All of the above. So her divine beauty is seen by all these features. So the answer is all of the above. She was dressed in spotless white clothes always. Her silvery locks, her silver hair, okay? And she looked like the winter landscape, right from head to toe. So everything was silver white, and white is a sign of purity, It's really ethereal to see somebody like that. So that talks about her divine beauty. Next question. What did the priest teach at the village school? A. Religious songs. B. The alphabets and prayers. C. Gardening. D. None of the above. So the priest at the temple, he taught the children the alphabets and prayers. Next question. Why was the grandmother unhappy with the city education? A. English was the medium of instruction. B. Western science and music lessons did not appeal to her. C. There was no teaching about God. D. All of the above. So all of the above is the correct option, because all these things she thought was not good education, because English was the medium, she couldn't help him out and she couldn't understand. Then Western science did not appeal to her. Music also, she thought it had lewd associations, and there were no teaching about the scriptures and God or morality or values. Okay, so all of the above. Next question. What stationery did the author use in the village? Stationery. Okay. A plastered wooden slate. B, a reed pen. C, an earthen ink pot. D, all of the above. So the answer is all of the above. Excuse me, children. Because he had a plastered wooden slate, yes, a reed pen. Now, in some of the books, children, there is a misprint. It's written as red pen. It's not a red pen, it's a reed pen. You know, it's made out of the kalam that we talk about, because we're talking about old times and we're talking about the villages. So there used to be this plastered slate was the takti that they used to call, you know, and it was plastered with that chalk. So it's a takti and a kalam. So reed pen. It's not red pen, it's reed pen. And an earthen ink pot in which they used to dip this reed pen and then they used to write on the slate. Next question. Excuse me. What was the author's mother's opinion about the sparrows? Author's mothers I'm talking about, the sparrows. A, the sparrows had no feelings. B, they came there only to eat the breadcrumbs. So when the grandmother died, she gave them the breadcrumbs instead of the grandmother. All of the above. So what was her opinion? That they had no feelings. They only used to come there to eat. So she thought that day also they had come there to eat only. So she threw those breadcrumbs across to them. So all of the above. Next question. How is it proved that the grandmother was a Stoic? Now, first, who is a Stoic? A person who has the ability to endure, you know, a lot of pain and suffering without complaining is a Stoic, you know, and the feature is Stoicism, okay? So the grandmother was also a Stoic. She never voiced her feelings, and whatever was going around, she accepted it, and she never threw a tantrum. She never showed her emotions. She never interfered in anybody's working. Even when the author was going abroad and when he went to this English medium school, she just used to keep silent, okay? So even in her last moments, okay, she did not panic, and, you know, she did not hold on to the members of the family and ask them to sit around, you know. She faced it all very bravely. She faced everything without complaining. So that is the meaning of a Stoic. How is it proved that grandmother was a Stoic? A, she accepted her seclusion. B, she never voiced her emotions. C, in her last moment, she sent the family away so that she could pray and die peacefully. D, all of the above. So all of the above. Next question. Why was the time spent with the sparrows the best time for the grandmother? A, she loved birds. B, she only had the company of birds, or that was the only time when she had some company. C, she did not have friends. D, none of the above. So the right answer is she only had the company of birds. That is why it was the best time for her, that there was somebody around her, you know, some sort of noise, and the birds also taking the liberties, and, you know, they chirped around, and they had a nice time with the breadcrumbs. They fed themselves also. At the same time, they were in close proximity with her. Some of them would come and sit on her head, some would perch on her shoulder, and, you know, she never shooed them away because she liked it all. And so that was the only time when she was in some kind of company. So that is why it was the best time for her. Next question. What was the indication of the grandmother passing away? Okay. A loud cry, B, a short scream, C, the rosary falling down from her lifeless fingers, D, none of the above. So the answer is C, the rosary falling from her lifeless fingers. That was the indication that she was no more. So I think I've done quite a few questions with you children. Now, there are different aspects in the grandmother's character. Like, she was kind. So if you get a question or some MCQs on kindness, it was in the village she fed the dogs with the stale chapatis, and in the city she fed the sparrows with breadcrumbs. So that was an act of kindness. Okay. Then religious aspect of her was that she always prayed, her lips moved in inaudible prayer. Inaudible, which cannot be heard, but you could just see the lips moving, inaudible. So silent prayer kind of a thing. Then she told the beads of a rosary. Then she also went to the temple to read the scriptures, and she was very upset about the fact that her son was getting education, but they were not being taught about God and morality and values. So all this tells us about her religious aspect. Then Stoicism, I've already told you that she threw no tantrum. She endured everything bravely, quietly, silently. She accepted her solitude. She did not voice her feelings. And even in the last moments, it's very difficult to let go of relations and of the family. But she was strong enough to let go of all these materialistic ties, and she forced the family to go away and leave her alone, so that in the last moments she could be in communion with God, and she wanted to die praying to him, So that was her Stoicism, okay? So I think I have tried to cover most of the questions. If you have any other doubts or problems, please do pen them down in the comment section, and I will try to solve them and reach out to you. So thank you very much for listening and for watching. God bless you all the best. Children, it's very, very important for the MCQs that you must read the chapter thoroughly, line by line, because all these MCQs are actually, they are made or they're compiled from within the chapter. So it's very, very important, because there are some points that you might just miss out on, and then the question is framed from there only. So because you have to be very, very precise, you have to pinpoint the exact answer, and sometimes the options are very, very close. Just as I did that one with you, that the portrait of the grandfather was hanging above the mantelpiece. Then there was another option above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. So that was precise, that was correct. So you have to be very, very careful. So please go through the chapters thoroughly. Thank you very much for watching, listening. God bless you all.